Job, check. Accommodation, check. But hold up, what am I going to pack? There is literally so much to think about when you decide to move to Italy that it can feel like a never-ending to-do list, to the point where sometimes the most obvious and important aspect of all, what you are going to pack, can often be left to the last minute. In today's video, I am going to share with you some tips that I followed myself back in 2018 when I moved from the UK to Italy, which helped to streamline my moving process and hopefully will help you do the same so that you only move to Italy with exactly what you need. So let's begin with electrical appliances. My first piece of advice for you is actually not to move with electrical appliances from your country unless they share the same power and or plug as Italy. Now, the reason I say this is twofold. Firstly, if you are in the unfortunate position where you encounter a problem with your electrical device once you're living here in Italy, it's far more complicated to get it fixed if you haven't got proof of purchase from within Italy itself. Whereas if you purchase an item from an electrical shop here in Italy and something goes wrong, you can take it back, or it's normally covered under warranty within Italy. So I really recommend that you consider this for this reason, but also because it's not good to run your electrical appliances on adapters for extended periods of time. Now, moving from the UK to Italy would have meant that I would have had to do that if I had decided to move with my television and sound system, for example, because in the UK we have a completely different plug for our electrical appliances. So I decided to just move with the absolute bare essentials, notably just my phone and my Kindle. And later on, I ended up buying Italian versions of those. But I really recommend selling your appliances back in your country, moving with the absolute bare minimum of what you need, and then reinvesting your money into appliances once you start living here in Italy. It honestly will save you a lot of headaches further down the road. Now, two places that I recommend that you look at if you are going to follow this piece of advice would be My Expert and Media World. Both of these are pretty much national electrical shop chains. You can find them pretty much across all of Italy on high streets and also online. And of course, we've got the king of online shopping, Amazon, where you can find pieces as well. My next tip is to be mindful of the clothes that you bring. Now, this requires you to do a little bit of research because it really does depend on what region of Italy you're moving to. Now, talking from my perspective in the very south of Italy, I can tell you that there doesn't really feel like a natural transition between seasons. So if we take where we're at now in September, back in the UK, it very much feels like autumn, whereas here, it feels like a slightly cooler version of summer. And it kind of feels like this until we arrive into late December, early January, when it begins to feel like winter. So we kind of skip the season of autumn. And this is an important consideration because it may mean that there are certain pieces in your wardrobe that you will never wear here in Italy, which is why you need to do your homework as to what the climate is like and to help you be a bit more objective as to what to pack. Now, I liken it to kind of the staples I had back in the UK. I would wear raincoats and Wellington boots because it's the UK, and these are items that I absolutely have never worn in the 5 years that I've lived in the south of Italy. So this is why I say, do your research, understand what the climate is like, understand what the weather is like, to help you to be a bit more selective as to what you pack. Certain staples, jeans, t-shirts, shorts, you can never go wrong with. Light cardigans, jumpers, things like this you're likely to wear wherever you move to in Italy at some point throughout the year. But when it comes to things like fleecy jackets and really warm clothing, this really depends on what part of Italy you move to. Consider in the south of Italy, we rarely ever see snow. And if we do, the very next morning, it's usually gone. So this is why I really recommend take this opportunity to select the clothes that will be most appropriate for Italy and rebuild your wardrobe once you're here. You can find all the worldwide famous fashion outlets such as H&M, Zara, and of course designer stores and online versions too. So it's very easy for you to rebuild your wardrobe. But you also need to understand how your body is going to react to the climate here. Like, consider in September now in Sicily, Italians are starting to wear jeans again. I cannot even begin to wear a pair of jeans yet because the temperatures here are like late 20s, early 30s, and that back in the UK would be like a little mini heat wave in the summer. So this is why you need to live here for a short period of time and understand how your body responds to the temperatures to know what you really need in your wardrobe. So take your time with this, move with the bare minimum. I don't recommend moving with mountains of clothes, some of which may never see the light of day once you start living here in Italy, so be selective. Tip for you is to bring travel-sized versions of your favourite beauty products until you find an alternative here in Italy. Now this tip is often overlooked because you can pretty much find your favourite brands wherever you are in the world. However, a couple of things that you need to know are that firstly, you may pay more for that brand here in Italy. I've noticed this myself with certain brands from the UK, like Rimmel, for example, costs a lot more money here than it did back in the UK. And also the brands may well trade under a different name in Italy. So an example of this is Radox, which is a famous bath and shower brand in the UK, trades as Adidas here in Italy. So these are the little nuances that take a little bit of time to understand and get to know. So I really recommend, if you have a little stack of travel-sized favorites, you've got a bit of time to understand where you can buy the equivalent here in Italy, or indeed experiment with an Italian version. Sephora is a great shop where you can find many of the international beauty brands, and again, it's pretty much a national chain, so you should be able to find that wherever you move to in Italy. Also, as an Italian equivalent, Kiko is a popular Italian high street beauty brand, which you may consider trying as well if you want to make that transition. But you need time to understand the little nuances here when it comes to purchasing the beauty brands that you love using back at home. So make sure you've got a stack of supplies just to keep you going until you get yourself sorted out. So of course, you're thinking of moving to Italy, you absolutely need to download my free 5-step formula for moving to Italy. I'm going to put the link below in the show notes, but this formula completely streamlines the entire moving process and gets you thinking about things that you may not have paid much attention to up until now. I highly recommend you download it. As I said before, link is below. It will really help you with your moving process. Okay, my fourth tip is to consider leaving bulkier items such as furniture back in your country. Now, I say this not only because of course it's going to cost a lot more money to ship those kinds of items here to Italy, but also because what works in your current home in your country may not fit the style of accommodation that you're going to move into here in Italy. Now, my example, I used to live in a cottage in the UK prior to moving to Italy. So my furniture was very country cottage-esque in terms of its style, which would absolutely never work in the apartment I currently live in now in Sicily. So this is why I say, consider selling those pieces back in your country and reinvesting that money once you're living here into items that are going to work in the environment that you're living in and in your home or apartment. This is really important because what works in one country may not work in another country, in the environment and in the home. So save your money, don't spend it on extortionate shipping costs, sell your furniture and rebuy it once you arrive. My next tip is to bring sentimental items with you. Now, as much as I really endorse a minimalistic method of packing when it comes to moving to Italy, of course, I also think it's really important to have those sentimental items that remind you of moments in your life with you as you're building your new life here in Italy. It just helps you to retain that connection. One item that I moved with, which has a lot of sentimental value to me, is this laughing Buddha. This was actually my granddad's, and it's really, really old. I remember being a child, sitting in my nan and granddad's living room, seeing it on the windowsill and just absolutely falling in love with it like as a child. And this holds a lot of meaning to me, particularly because my granddad is no longer alive. So for this, I think it's really important to hold on to these moments and memories, and that's why I think that you should bring key things with you that have that sentimental value, because it will definitely help your home to feel more like a home at the very beginning when you're setting everything up. The next thing that I would recommend is to view this move as a chance to declutter your life. The famous book by Marie Kondo, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, really focuses in on the importance of the objects that we decide to keep in our home, because every single object holds energy, whether that be positive or negative. And Marie talks in this book about how you should literally hold every single object you own, whether that be an item of clothing or, for example, an ornament, and ask yourself, does this bring me joy? And if it doesn't, then maybe that is your calling for you to find a new home for it. And this is a really important process, because you're about to embark on a new adventure and start a completely different chapter in your life. And so really and truly, you want to bring with you the things that are going to make you feel good on this new stage of your journey. And so I think it's a really, really powerful process to follow, particularly if you are unsure exactly what to bring with you and whether or not you should take something. This is a really objective way to make that decision for you, so that really and truly the things that you pack are the items that help you to feel good and don't hold any kind of negative energy. I also recommend taking as much as you can with you on the plane. Utilize the suitcase allowance, utilize packing cubes so that you can fit literally as much as you can into your suitcases, and save any courier companies for the larger items that are just not suitable to bring with you on the plane. This would be the biggest piece of advice for you. It's how I moved to Italy. I moved with 2 large suitcases, and then I had 2 other boxes that followed later, and that was it. I think keeping your move as simplistic as possible when it comes to what you bring with you will help you to settle more into life here in Italy, because you're not going to have boxes and boxes of things to have to sort through. You're going to have the essentials that you need to set your life up here, and then you've got the journey of adding to those as you progress along the way here, and buying what is necessary and what you need. It's like a blank canvas, and sometimes that is the most exciting aspect of all. You get to recreate this aspect of your life with the items that really matter to you, and you get to leave the rest behind. So utilize the airplane in terms of bringing what you can to save on any shipping or courier costs, and only really courier what you need. If you don't need it, or there's a question mark about it, then I would suggest that that is the indication that you should leave whatever item it is back in your country. It can be very daunting to know what to pack when you're thinking of moving to Italy, and you worry that you're going to leave something behind, or you're going to regret not bringing something with you. But something that I have learned in the 5 years that I've been living here is that life in Italy will change you, and guaranteed further down the line, you will not be the same person who moved to Italy. Your tastes will change, your interests will change, you'll evolve and grow as a person. So don't be afraid to let go of the old when it comes to your objects and possessions, and open yourself up to the new, because Italy will change you. And I think sometimes you need to prepare for that before you even step on the plane. See you in the next video.